There's a lot to creating an accessible video, but let's just cover the basics in video accessibility. On your audio of your video, make sure there's no echo or a lot of outside noise, and try to not have any music because there's a certain decibel level that's acceptable on the music, so unless you know that, you risk overpowering your voice with the music. Also, don't speak too fast. Try to be clear and concise and pause between concepts. Visual, no flashing that can cause or induce seizures, but preferably don't have shaking, don't have flashing, anything that would cause any discomfort. Just steer clear from. The contrast check. Make sure you're using pens, if you're using a whiteboard, pens that have enough contrast, or if you're using a virtual whiteboard or recording something like this on Word, using colors that have appropriate contrast on your web examples that you're giving. There is a contrast checker out there. It's at https://webaim.org/resources/contrast checker. So the example I want to show you is a whiteboard that I created. This is a picture of a whiteboard that I have at home that I wrote on. So if you're recording yourself writing on a whiteboard, then you'll have something like this in the background, and you have to make sure your camera's close enough that you can actually see what's being written, because that'll affect the contrast as well. I took a picture just to be obvious with the colors here. So I'm going to go to the WebAIM contrast checker and check my colors here. Now I'm just going to manually do this on the contrast checker. So the first contrast I'm going to check is my first word pass that's written in black, but my pen was running out of ink, so it almost looks more like dark gray. So the background color is on the right. Because I took a picture, it's a slightly more brownish gray, so I won't make it stark white, but I'll make it kind of off-white. And then my foreground color, I'll make that black kind of grayish color and go with that. And down here, normal text, large text, and all of that, it passes everything. What we need to have it passed as a minimum, as I wrote here, need WCAG-AA at least to pass. So on normal text, it passes, and on large text, it passes. The large text that it's talking about is if it's 18 point or larger, or if it's bolded, if it's 14 point or larger. Now checking my second blue, if I just find that kind of soft blue color that I have for that pen mark there, and I check that, it has this contrast ratio that if you want to get more into that, that's fine, but it looks like I still pass. Now I'm going to get into my green color, which is more of a teal, because again my pen was running out of ink a bit, and I think on the lightness I could change that here, right about there. So that's about the color of my foreground color, and it looks like I fail, which kind of makes sense. It's the hardest to see. So that third fail that I have written question mark is actually a fail. My last color, the reddish orange pen mark that I have, if we look at the reddish orange color right about there, maybe make it slightly lighter, slightly oranger. Okay, so we'll say that that's a good match. So notice my normal text is failing at the WCAG-AA. So I would have to do a large text because then that passes. And so I could still use that color red pen that I have in this capacity as long as I do it as a large text 18 point or larger, or 14 point bold or larger. So after you've checked your audio and visual, which again there's so much more to it, but these are just some basic steps initially that everyone can take. My motto is always to say everything you see. Images, text that you write, pictures that you draw, maybe not so much if it's a whole forest full of 100 animals or something, but at least a good description. So I'm going to insert a video I have of me saying everything I see on a graph that I made. With the following histogram that we created, on the horizontal axes we have our tick marks of 0, 17, 34, 51, 68, and 85, and on our vertical axis we have tick marks of 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. We have our bars of our histogram, making sure they touch. Starting at 0 going to 17, the first bar goes up to 12. The second bar from 17 to 34 goes up to 22. The third bar from 34 to 51 goes up to 5. And the last two bars, from 51 to 68 goes up to 1, and from 68 to 85 goes up to 1. Again, with our histogram with all the bars, making sure there's no gaps and that they touch. Now that you've checked your audio, visual, and you have an idea of what "say everything you see" means, you can go ahead and just do these basic checks on your video and to meet the basic needs of accessibility.